This is a David Breeden original piece of carved soapstone. It's been sitting here in the gallery for a long time, and the first thing that I did was I washed it with mild soap and water in the sink. You want to get all the dust off of your sculpture, and then what you usually have, you got the stone underneath, you got a silicone-based stone polish, and then you got something on the top. It's a wax coat. You know, we noticed back in the day we were at an art show and we were complaining about how the silicone polish was getting tacky in the sun. And a fella came by and said, you know what you need to be using? A little bit of car wax. But you can use it's called butcher wax, paste wax, comes in a can with a lid. And if you can get the lid off, you're gonna find something that's used on furniture. It's used on bowling alleys. It's used on automobiles and cars. You want to make sure that you have a good base. You don't want to wax, for the most part. If you find a piece that has been kind of sitting around and neglected, and you wash all the dust and scum off the surface, then you can add a little bit of fresh wax to whatever original wax and do something called buff. And buffing is the final cut. When you buff something, you pour intention into it, and you tell it, you're beautiful. I love you. You're a sparkling, shining object of power, desire. So if you ever get the chance and you got something kind of old and tarnished, why don't you take a minute? You clean it, polish it, and watch it shine. This stone, Virginia soapstone, is one of the densest stones on earth. It will not degrade in the weather. It would last underwater. The first sculpture ever found carved by hominid hands was a tiny little Venus figurine this tall, made out of soapstone. So, while it's very dense and impenetrable to the elements, it's very soft and easy to carve, and it's found carved all over the world. The indigenous people of Alaska, the Hambakishu of South Africa, ancient Chinese cultures. I could go on and on about it, but what we're talking about right now is polishing sculpture. When you put the wax on, it's in a soft, malleable, wet state. And when you lay it on thin, and then wait 5 or 6 minutes, you'll find that something happens. It starts to get translucent and cloudy. That's because it's kind of hardening and becoming tacky, the excess wax. A good, shiny, protective top coat on sculpture is going to be just the right thickness, not too much waxy buildup in the low points and enough on the high smooth surface. So for the purposes of our tutorial, I'm going to stop covering it, but usually you work methodically all the way around and then you wait a moment. And the first place that you began to wax, when it becomes tacky, is the first place that you're going to begin to buff. Now, when I mentioned something, you don't need a lot of fancy tools to buff a wax job. You just need 100% cotton, clean, dry cloth. But t-shirts will work. Polyester's not so good. Synthetics are more abrasive. 100% cotton. And what you do is you start with some swipes, right, to even out any of the wet stuff. And then if you start to get to the tacky stuff and you begin to speed out, not too hard, not too soft pressure, this is what pours that intention into it. Now, I don't know if you can see from there, but as I do this, I get this beautiful, like lustrous, glossy coat. And if someone were to, heaven forbid, scratch against this with a piece of metal or a piece of furniture or something, well, the wax would be the first thing to take the hit. So it's kind of like an armor for the stone and the polish. And also the wax is pretty good at backfilling little nicks, even in your polish, even in your stone. It'll do some light repair. Sometimes you might need a little colored wax called shoe polish if you want to make a light dark scratch go away. There's all kinds of tricks of the trade for light repair. You know, if you want to care for and maintain something made of wood, or stone, or steel, paint, feel free to give it a little wax. Now, that being said, If you want to get professional, there's a variety of tools called buffing wheels, polishing wheels. And if you get yourself one of these, well, it's going to move a lot faster than your hand does, but it's a little bit aggressive and a little abrasive. So hold your ears, kiddies. Now that really brings up the sheen on it, doesn't it? Another fun fact, this is a spray bottle with a little bit of acetone in it, which is a very fine solvent. It evaporates very quickly. You need to be careful with it. It's a little noxious. It's highly flammable. Don't leave it on rags balled up. They can spontaneously combust. You want to be careful about this because when you're using it, you're making a something more flammable environment around you. But if you use a little spritz of acetone on your buffing whip, well, that's going to cut the wax. But if it's just the right amount, it actually softens it up and moves it around. And now I'd like to introduce you to the proest of pro tip. This Muhammad Jamba right here is a little buddy called Jeweler's Rouge. I don't know if you know much about gem cutting and diamonds and sapphires and rubies, but artisans with incredible skill and precision in geometry can cut raw stones of certain types and create these faceted, mirrored shapes. The value of a diamond rough is actually nothing compared to the value of a diamond cut by a master jeweler. And every jeweler uses this rouge, which is a very fine abrasive. After you've done all your sanding, after you've done all your grinding, after you've done all your moving of stuff, the last touch is jeweler's rouge. And instead of polishing the stone here, we're polishing the polish. So jeweler's rouge also likes just the right little spritz of acetone to help dilute it just enough to take it from a solid into a soft solid state. Then I'll load up a little bit on my buffy, and too much and I'll get white splotchy nonsense. Just the right amount, I'll polish the polish. Well, I could get lost in the sauce and just buff this thing all day long. Once you start, it's hard to stop. But remember, you want to work it just the right amount. It's not an all-day affair. Once every couple of years, you can put a little attention into your sculpture and keep it kind of glowing and resonating and sending out the vibe, you know? So thanks for coming. And please feel free to check out Biscuit Run online and come by the studio if you're ever in the neighborhood and look for more tips and tricks in ancient stone carving things. To do that.